Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Welcome to today's episode of How You Getting Fucked. I'm your host, Louis Rosman. Today we're going to be discussing a new Ford patent, but before I get into this patent, it's very important that I discuss prior Ford patents and also prior Ford cases that have existed regarding privacy. So let's go over a case that I went over 3 years ago in 2023. The title of this video is Judge Rules That It's Legal for Automakers to Download and Store Your Text Messages Under a Washington Privacy Law. So when you pair your phone to your car and you tell it that it's allowed to read the text messages to you, this is convenient because, as I know, as somebody who moved from New York to Texas, a lot of people here like to stare at their phones while they're driving, and a lot of them do that on Friday and Saturday night because there's no public transportation, often after drinking, and let's just say that there are many times where I try to stay off the road here. But instead of looking at your phone, you can have the car read you the text message, and that is a useful feature. The problem is that the car has to actually grab the text message from your phone, and when you give the car permission to do that, it stores those text messages inside the car, and the part that starts to get bad is that after it stores the text message in the car, there's no way for you to necessarily delete that. So there are owners of these cars that were saying, we'd like the ability to delete this stuff from the car. And the fact that we don't have the ability to delete our text messages and our stored phone data from the car, but somebody else with the right software can get access to that is a problem. If I sell my car, I don't want my car containing all of my text messages and information that somebody else who has the right software can reach into the car and delete. And what happened in this case is that the judge said that this privacy law only applies if you have suffered some sort of damages or reputational harm. So let's say that you do something horribly embarrassing. Let's say that you, I don't know, like listen to Rick Astley by choice, for instance. And let's say you listen to Rick Astley by choice in one of his 80s albums, and I want to make fun of you for this. Let's say that I learned that from the text messages in your car. Now, if I tell everybody that you listen to Rick Astley by choice, and everybody starts making fun of you, and you lose an election, and you lose all your friends, and your wife or your husband leaves you, you could then say that there have been damages. However, if I reach into your car and grab all that information out of it, and I store it, but I haven't used it against you yet, technically, according to the Washington state privacy law that they're citing here, nothing bad has occurred yet. So I could have blackmail on you, and as long as that blackmail has not been put into active use yet, there's no privacy violation. That's a serious problem, and we discussed that on the wiki, and you can read about the case if you're interested here. The next interesting patent that came from Ford was a patent about having advertisements in cars to push ads. The patent lists examples of how the in-vehicle advertisement presentation system could monitor conversations between individuals in order to decide when to serve ads, how many it should serve, and whether to deliver them as only audio or video in an audio-visual format, depending on the driving condition, which is kind of weird. You've noticed that cars have become less reliable in certain ways. You've noticed that cars have gotten much more expensive in recent years. And to make matters worse, now that car that spies on you is going to be advertising to you more often as well. Aren't you just so glad that you have a bigger screen inside of your car? And that brings us to the patent that I read about just a few days ago. And this one absolutely destroys me. This is an in-vehicle lip reading and facial expression detection patent application. I'm going to read you some of the best points over here. I'm not going to read you the entire 16-page patent, but if you want to read about it in full, you can check out the consumerrights.wiki article down below, which also includes the full text of the original patent. So some parts that I found very interesting. I'm going to quote from it. The vehicle may also use acoustic signals to detect facial movements. For example, the vehicle may emit nearly inaudible sound waves and analyze the echoes that bounce back from the user's lip and mouth. So you have active sonar on a user's face in a passenger car, and it never describes the consent flow for opting into this anywhere in the patent. Cameras can read your lips and synthesize speech, even if the microphone in the car is muted or if there's a lot of noise. The lip reading mode, if enabled, allows the vehicle to determine what the user is speaking, even if the speech is not audible or is partially audible. The one or more cameras of the vehicle can capture the movements of the user's lips. The vehicle may mute the microphones of the vehicle or the user device and instead generate and synthesize speech based on the data and information determined based on the lip reading and/or gesture detection into corresponding text data and/or audio speech data and transmit the text or data and/or audio data to the other party in the conversation. So your voice can now exist as transmitted data when nothing was ever acoustically recorded. Great. Lip reconstructed speech is now a thing that your car can create for you. The car watches your face to judge whether you're confused or frustrated. Wonder if the people at Ford that came up with this can tell if my users are frustrated. Humans may perform certain gestures such as nodding of the head, shaking of the head, rolling of the eyes in response to verbal communications. If the user shakes his head or appears confused based on facial expressions, the vehicle may determine that the user is having an issue with the communication system. The facial gesture expression data may be used as a trigger condition to calculate the actual ambient noise levels in the vehicle. So emotion inference is wired in as a precondition for this system. And this is, again, I've talked about this when it came to Spotify. Spotify has a patent as well that figures out your emotional state and then uses that in order to advertise to you, which I find highly creepy. It's one of the reasons that I will never use Spotify, and I suggest other people stop using it. But the car is essentially has a way to infer your emotional state based on your facial expressions. Fucking great. The Control Server 104 may be part of a cloud-based computing infrastructure and may be associated with and/or include a telematics service delivery network. In additional aspects, the Control Server 104 may be an assistance server and may be associated with at least one of a tow assistance firm, a vehicle maintenance and repair firm, an insurance firm, and a transportation firm. So the system that is going to be watching your lips and face is also wired by design into a cloud server, explicitly listed as connecting to insurers. And the reason that this is an issue is, as I've covered in recent videos, and as there was also a nice long article on ConsumerRights.wiki about, car manufacturers have been utilizing the data from your car, selling it to brokers that then sell it to insurance companies that use that data to raise your rates. So let's say there's a drunk driver in front of you and he's done something stupid, and because he did something massively stupid, you smash on the brakes. Your dumbass car's AI may see hard braking and send that data to your insurance company and say, because you've hard broke, that we're going to raise your insurance rates, not realizing that the reason that you actually took part in hard braking is because there was a drunk driver in front of you that did something massively stupid. Everything we're talking about here regarding the car manufacturers pipelining that data to insurance companies that then used it to raise your rates, this is not a conspiracy theory. There are several cases going on about it. They've been sued for it, and this has made the front page of the New York Times many times. Like, this is not just something where it's random people on Twitter that are complaining about this with no real verification. The best part of this, your gestures get enrolled in a per-vehicle database. A method comprising storing by vehicle on a database, association information between each of a plurality of gestures, and a corresponding verbal command associated with the vehicle. Method of Claim 16 further comprising storing by the vehicle in the database, correlation information between each of a plurality of facial expressions, and a corresponding verbal command associated with the vehicle. So a persistent biometric database of your gestures and facial expressions, which is tied to the command sitting in the car. And above all, again, the patent does not describe deletion, retention limits, or owner access. And remember, this has already been gone over in court. If you say that that data in the car is data that I want the ability to delete, as somebody who paid $40,000 fucking dollars for the car, it is not a violation of existing privacy laws to say to just retain that information forever. In a manner where automakers and law enforcement agencies can gain access to in the future. So the car gets that information on you, you can't delete it. Now, if we lived in a normal, rational world, this would be seen as a cool feature. A lot of cars have voice commands. You can say stuff like, turn on the air conditioner or lower the air conditioner, which is really useful because modern cars don't have fucking knobs anymore. So again, it would be nice to have a knob. If you don't have a knob, at the very least, you could tell the car what to do. And if your car is a convertible, maybe it's not going to be able to hear you as well because you have all the wind around you. We don't live in that trustworthy world. We live in a world where the automotive manufacturer actively fights against giving you a delete button over the data in your own vehicle. We live in a world where automotive manufacturers are patenting the ability to advertise to you based on what it is you are saying inside of your own vehicle. We live in a world where automotive manufacturers sell your data to insurance companies that then use that information to raise your rates without your consent, which is why I'm not really okay with all of this. And the reason that I discuss those cases before talking about this patent is because in absence of that other information, in absence of those past cases, in absence of those past patents, it may simply seem like somebody's just paranoid and just finding a reason to complain about something when they say that this is something that they're not comfortable with. But when you add everything else into the mix, this is something that I'm not comfortable with. And I have a feeling that many of my viewers are not either. And one of the things that sometimes drives me nuts in this channel, Tesla, for many, they're a meme company run by, in my opinion, a meme CEO. There are so many legit reasons to bash some of the stupid things that they do. But there's the one problem that I have with Tesla being the universal piñata for everybody that cares about this is that by focusing only on them, it makes it very easy to just say, oh yeah, just avoid buying a Tesla or just don't get an EV and you won't have to deal with this shit. When in reality, every manufacturer is starting to take part in this. Even if you buy a boring or gas car that's a normal sedan that doesn't have any of this crazy shit in it, you're still going to have to deal with a lot of the spying, the data collection, the advertising patents and everything else. It's not just new automakers that are doing this, and it's not just electric vehicles. It's across the board. And if Tesla is the brand that is just seen as the universal piñata to go to every time that this type of stuff is discussed, then people who are buying from traditional automakers may not have their eyes open as much to what is going on. And I think that that is not a good thing. I don't want Tesla to suck the air out of the room for us to actually point out when other automakers are taking part in this type of behavior as well. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What do you think of Ford's patent? And what do you think of the people that are going to come in here and say, just because they patent it doesn't mean they're going to use it? That's one of my favorite comments that was in the video on the Ford advertising patent. Just because they patent it doesn't mean they're going to use it. Just because I have a kitchen knife next to my bed with my girlfriend's name written on it doesn't mean I'm going to use it. It's just there, along with this little plan that I wrote and how I'm going to use it. And then how many times am I going to stab her? But don't be uncomfortable. It doesn't mean I'm actually going to use it. It just means I just thought of hiring people to write up that 12 or 16-page plan. Just for the hell of it. Just for my imagination. It's a fucked up world when the schizos are right. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. See you in the next video. Bye now.